Hello, guys. Welcome back. Today's episode is all about attracting love and your life being a magnet for love. And when we talk about this, we're talking about it in a way that not just romantic relationships, right? Relationships too.
Exactly. And who better to have here than Romeo when we're
Yes, we got to
talking
show
about
Romeo.
love on the day of love?
Hold him up so they could see his
I can
little
see him.
face.
There's little Romeo. So if you want to know what love looks like, it's right here.
Yes,
Look at this guy. It's a bundle of love.
he is a little bundle of love.
Everywhere he goes,
He
no matter
brings
what
love.
city we're in, he makes, we know it by the expression on people's face.
Yeah. And he was named Romeo because he had a little white heart
Yep.
on the top of his
Top of his head.
on the top
It's a
of
heart
his head.
shape.
Yes.
Yeah.
So let's talk about this. First, I want to say we are not experts in relationships. We're learning as we go too. But I feel like the field that we work in, we're working with a lot of people, and we experience a lot of relationship talk, whether it's with clients or it's with partners. There's been so many experiences we've had ourselves. And one theme that I would say that we've recognized is if there's anything going on in a relationship that breaks your heart or is tough, normally it could go two ways. It could either break things wide open and let love and light come in because you're broken open and broken down and it brings you closer, or it can go the other way and it could break you down, cause you to shut down and totally disconnect.
Yeah, because it's all about being authentic with yourself.
Yeah.
And I know that word's thrown out there, but sometimes your first impression, like what, like say, when you're in a relationship with each other and you get triggered by the other person, your first instinct is like, they're wrong, right? We all feel like that. And if we sit with it for a while, maybe a couple hours, maybe a couple weeks, sometimes people might take 6 months to sit with it. Eventually, if you're looking for the truth, for the authenticity, which may not come right away in that moment because we're all human, you start to see the truth and you're like, like I was like, maybe Lindsay was right.
Usually am.
And you have to
Kidding.
go to that place inside of yourself that's your intuition, that's your instinct, because at the end of the day, it's not about being right.
Right.
It's about living in the truth, right? And whenever you start to find that truth, we realize like that's what activates our love for each other more and more on a daily, yearly basis.
And soulmates, this is the one thing that is important. Soulmates will push you to your edge and make you see a different way. It will get you there faster than you would get by yourself, I feel. Like when you have a soulmate in your life, whether it's romantic or it's even a friendship too. If you have a friend that's telling you the truth, ruffles some feathers, but still tells you the truth, I'd rather that friend than someone that butters me up and says, oh, it's okay. And I've recognized that over the years. I'd rather a real friend than a quote nice friend. And I think that's why when we're interacting with each other, we just say it like it is, even if it gets the other one mad, just to say like, this is what I feel.
Yeah, and I feel like every year we do that more and more because we've realized that's the power that unlocks fulfillment, like true love for yourself. And that's what this is about. Like this is about you genuinely liking and loving yourself, because once you get to that place, and it's not like a final destination, but once you keep activating that space inside of you and you continue looking for that by being authentic, by looking at your the way you're showing up that's not being effective in relationships and effective in your life, like we call them blind spots, and we all have them. We all have these blind spots inside of us that we just don't see what we don't see in the moment, right? You can think about something that you're very aware of right now in this time that maybe 10 years ago you would have never saw about yourself. And that's the power, is looking for those blind spots, knowing you have them, and
Right.
being willing to receive it whenever you do hit that button. Or like Lindsay was saying, when your soulmate, or a soulmate could be a friend or your significant other, says something that's truthful, and it hurts because those blind spots, when they're first activated, it is pain and
Yeah.
it hurts. But as you get really as you get better at this, you realize there's so much love and joy on the other side of that blind spot, that hot button that your soulmate or your friend, your other soulmate triggered.
That is, I think that's the main point, is like the pain that triggers inside of you. If you know something is not true and you're not triggered, then it doesn't hit the same because it's not true. And wait, that doesn't feel aligned with me. It doesn't affect me. It's not a hot button for me. But if it is a hot button, that is gold. We always talk about that. There's gold in pain and there's gold in triggers. And I think that's one thing that at the beginning, sometimes we don't see our blind spots. We don't notice them. Now, the triggers are one clue and then patterns are another. Like I would attract a lot of different friends. I always see like the third grade child in everyone because I was a third grade teacher. I don't know if that's the reasoning, but I do. I always see the third grade child in every single person. Well, I know they did this because they had childhood trauma in this. I know they did this because I could think why they did it. And there's been times where I've kept people around years ago and I would let people in and be there for them. I start to notice my pattern with all the pain. And it wasn't until the pain hit that I noticed my blind spot where I was letting a lot of people in and gifting my energy. When I say gifting, like exchanging energy, but I wasn't getting that same support back. I just didn't see it.
So you were seeing that people were doing, we'll call it shitty behavior.
Yeah.
And then you were in your mind, you had compassion. You could, like, you're very empathic, so you could step in people's shoes.
That's what it was.
And you could see, oh, I know why they're acting like that. And then what it did was it caused you to go in people pleaser mode,
and
right?
lower my own
to
energy.
Get out of your power, to go lower your own energy. Because one, it's powerful to be empathic like that. Like that's how you develop, I believe that's how you develop genuine relationships. But it sounds like where you went wrong is you started to lower your energy and people please. When nowadays, if that happens, you stay in your power because you catch that. You feel yourself trying to go back to that old Lindsay and you're like, wait, that's not effective. And you realize it because it was a pattern in your life. And if it's a pattern in your life and you're the common denominator, no matter what it is, then you know that it's something within you that needs to shift. It's really not about them. It's not their fault. We could go and blame people all day long. Oh, they're so bad. And why did they do that? It's like, maybe, that's true too. Maybe some people are assholes and they do stuff like that. But it's also true that you are going out of your power, and that's where you got to own it.
And I was going into victim mode for a while. When each time that would happen, I'm like, why is this happening? Like, I'm such a good friend. Why is this? But I was ignoring the signs. And it was people that were closest to me that would say, I don't like how I see that interaction. Like, why are you giving your power away? And I wasn't seeing that. Now, the other thing I do want to touch on this because this goes with being magnetic. The topic of ghosting. I think this is a big, big topic that's come up a lot for people because things that are going on in the world and everything.
Especially coming from a medium.
Exactly.
No, I'm joking. Just ghosting.
No, I know. That's what I was going to make a whole reel on this because of that. Because this is a big topic. I think people that are empathic and compassionate, like when I was in that space where I was seeing the best in people, maybe I wouldn't speak up right away because I could, like you said, I was in their shoes. I'm like, oh, I could see why they're doing this. Then when I started to live more in alignment, more in my truth, I started to be magnetic to the real people that were supposed to be in my path. I think that's what happens. That's another clue. You start to weed away other people and you bring in the people that are in alignment with you. It doesn't mean you're better than anyone or they're better than you. You're just in alignment with your people. So because I was always tiptoeing around and being compassionate with these people, when I actually spoke up and shared my truth, it was like a shock to their system. Even if I said it in a way that was like, I just want to let you know because I care. And that's why I'm sharing this. I want to be close. That's exactly why I need to share this.
Hit their hot button.
It hit a hot button.
Hidden.
And I found, it shocked my system. Ghosting is probably the worst thing. It's like a death, except the person's alive. when someone ghosts you, they either defriend you, they block you. There's no explanation. They they just completely shut down, and you don't know why it's happening. That was very painful for me. And when I had that pain, that hurt in my heart, and it took over, how many years was that? That was a long time where, and still there's pain
Especially
that
when it
comes from
first
it.
started happening, the first couple of times, because it was a shock to your system. And then
Yeah,
you
I
started
think there were
to
2 or 3 situations that came
recognize the
up.
patterns and anticipate and then be more in your power. And then now it's not a shock anymore, because consciously you know that as you grow and be more in your truth,
Yeah.
naturally some people will fade away and you learn to accept that inside. Years ago, the reason why you were people pleasing, the reason why I was people pleasing, and why any of us will people please in this moment or in the future, is because we unconsciously know that as we are in our power, we're going to lose people along the way. It may not be everybody, it may not be a lot of
Yeah.
people, but some people naturally, it's just the nature of
And I
life,
never wanted that. Like, I
right? And
never wanted to
who
be
wants that, right?
misunderstood. Like, that was my big thing. Like, I don't want them to misunderstand me. I want them to know that I care.
And one of the biggest needs we all have as humans is we all want to be loved. So whenever those people fall away, it feels like, oh, we're not being loved for being who we are. But as you dive deeper into this and you see more patterns, like you said, you realize that you're attracting even more authenticity from the people that stay around. You guys are
Yes.
growing together, and you're drawing into you more people that see you and accept you and love you for who you really are. Not the people that want you around. They want the Lindsay around that lowers her energy so I
Yeah.
could feel better about
They
myself.
know I have a little Boston in me, too.
No, and she does. She does
I
have
have
a
a little
little
sassy
Boston.
and a little sweet. Depends, the situation. But yeah, people accept me. They know that side of me. And I'm not hiding that. And I'm not trying to like butter anyone up to make sure that they are okay. And I'm not.
So as you all can
But
see,
what were we going to say?
no, you go.
I was just thinking about the ghosting thing. But tell me what you were going to say.
I was
And
gonna
then
say,
I'll,
as everybody can see, this is not about other people.
exactly.
This is about you. Like, you could get pissed off at other people all day long and tell the story and live in that for the rest of your life, and it's not going to do you a service. That part of the story is true too. People can be assholes. Like, we can be assholes at times. Like, all of us can be. But there could, a wholesome look at a situation is not, oh, I'm just pissed at that person. It's like, wait, what did I become from that person coming into my
Exactly.
life? And there's so many angles you could look at. How can I grow? And as you start to look at each situation in your life from all of these different angles, you start to become grateful for those people that came into your life.
Yes.
Yeah, even the people that hurt you the worst. And this is not just like positive talk. This is like you're seeing the truth.
That's the reality.
And
of it.
it goes down to the basis of that phrase that we hear all the time, life is happening for us. And we start to really see the truth of that as we self-reflect. We see the patterns that are showing up in our life and within ourselves, rather than just projecting the blame on the outside people.
Exactly. And it gets you to love yourself differently and value yourself and think, what are my values? So, what am I accepting in my life? Wait, I don't deserve that. It might take a while. It could take years. It could take months, weeks, whatever it is. As you go deeper in reflecting, I feel like it comes faster. But what I will say is, if you are someone that can't handle emotions, you can't deal with communication, you can't deal with, like, I'm putting in quotes, confrontation. A lot of people think confrontation and boundaries are, I'm not going to tolerate this, and I am going to weed them out of my life, and I'm not saying anything, and that's it. That's not boundaries, and that's not communication. That's the easy way out.
That's
That
low
is-
emotional intelligence.
that is low emotional intelligence, whether it sounds like
Scalding thing.
judging or not.
It is judging, but it's I feel like
it's the worst thing to do to ghost someone, because what you're saying is you can't handle your emotions to deal with it head on. And what's going to happen is that pattern is going to continue to come up and come up. I notice a lot of people that ghost have a lot of trauma that they don't deal with. We all have trauma in some way. But when you're ghosting people, you were just talking to them, and all of a sudden, no, all of a sudden they're gone. It's like that. I'm not saying you haven't talked to someone in 5 years and 10 years, that type of thing. I'm talking about you had just spoke with them, and then all of a sudden that's it. it's done. That is the most unhealthy thing that you can do, is be the ghoster into the ghostee, especially someone with grief. There's a lot of people listening here with grief. For me, it created more trauma in me. I thought of Nick passing away. I had no warning with him with the motorcycle accident, you know? It felt like I was going through a death all over again. I can't compare it exactly to that death because that was the worst thing in my life, but it brought up a lot. And so I guess it's still in me. You know, I'm still talking about this with passion. But I will say it gave me so many golden nuggets, and I started to love myself more. I thought that I loved myself before and valued myself, but it wasn't until the pain happened that I actually started to be a magnet for more quality relationships. And I still express myself, even if I knew that people could fall away.
And let's add context to it. The context of if the person that maybe triggered you and they said something to you that was truthful, and then you go and you want to ghost them. If that person is like, we'll call them a narcissist. If that person is someone that if you do try to bring up the truth back to them, they're going to just twist it around and make it about you again. Mm-hmm. Some people, we'll call it ghosting. Some people, it is better off not playing with that energy.
Yes.
But, you know, in your case, like Lindsay, everybody knows you. You're very open. Like you're willing to talk. You're willing to work things out.
And if I didn't talk, then I wouldn't care.
And if you have somebody that's willing to work things out,
yeah,
and you ghost them, that's a sign about you, because that's how relationships grow. Like our relationship, that's the way we've grown over the years. We've had many deep conversations about, hey, look, I don't like this pattern in you, Tony. I don't like this pattern in you, Lindsay. This needs to shift. This needs to shift. And sometimes the conversation just takes one conversation and we move on. Sometimes we've had some
very repetitive
that happened for years, right? Some took years to break because they were deeply
it worked by repeating it,
rooted inside of us. And it worked because we were both willing to look at ourselves. Yeah. And that's the power here. Like if you want to attract your ideal mate, more friends into your life that are genuine, it's like having that humility and humbleness to look at yourself and to work on yourself. And going back to when we first met, so back in 2010, that's when we first started talking to each other. If you rewind the previous, we'll say 3 years, going back to 2007, you and I, we were both on our own paths. Everybody in our lives knew that we did not want a boyfriend or girlfriend, right? You didn't want a boyfriend. I didn't want a girlfriend. And we were focused on, call it personal development,
right?
Working on ourselves. And I could go back to that space and see that in that space, I remember never being attached to having a girlfriend. I would always tell my friends when the subject came up, this girl is going to be into the same mindset stuff that I am. She's going to want to travel. I would say all these different qualities with certainty. And I got that from one of my coaches, Bob Proctor. He taught me to speak things into existence. And I did that. And I remember that energy and space I was in that moment. It wasn't a needy space. It wasn't like, oh, I need this to happen by this date. Like I didn't care if it happened in 1 year or 10 years, right. Genuinely in that moment, because I was so focused on developing myself. And I like, even at that naive age that I was, I saw there was a lot of work to do on myself. So I was like, I need to keep working on myself, because I heard from somebody, if you want to attract the ideal mate, you know, I think I heard it from Bob Proctor and a couple of other people, you have to become that person, because you don't attract what you want, you attract what you are. So I was like, oh, I have a lot of work to do. And you were doing the same thing. So this is a little clue. Like this is one thing that Lindsay and I both effortlessly attracted each other into our lives.
In different states, by the way.
In different states.
Never met each other.
It naturally happened. It was a natural unfoldment with no attachment. She wasn't attached. I wasn't attached. And
we weren't looking.
And we weren't looking.
We weren't trying.
It wasn't like,
that's
oh,
the
is
trick.
Is she it? Oh, I need to go here. And it's not, because when you try so hard and you have that trying energy, you're putting out to the world like that energy. Not enough. I need this. And it's a neediness. And you'll end up attracting another person that's real needy. And then you guys will both be annoyed with each other. But the thing is with anything that you want, it's like working on having that knowing that it's out there, you're
Yes.
connected to it, but you're not attached to how it happens or when it happens, and you just keep taking your inspired action. And
Yes.
I feel like that's what we both did to, 15 years later, we're still with each other.
And maintaining our independence, even though you guys listening and, people that know us, we are together a lot. Like we work together, we live together, we have fun, travel together, but we also have a life outside of each other.
Yes.
And we're happy when the other person goes out with friends.
I celebrate. I let balloons off. I got the house to myself. This is
You're like, yes,
amazing. She's going
out.
to come back recharged.
Exactly. I get excited when Tony goes out with his friends. So think about that. If you're in a relationship, you should want the other person to be so joyful and happy because you value yourself enough to know that you're okay if they're doing their thing and they're okay too, and they're going to come back. And it really is about serving the other person, and really putting the other person's needs really at the forefront. It's like, okay, what would make him happy and what would also make me happy? And I think getting clear on who are you and what do you want? That comes in romantic relationships, but also business relationships, friendships of, am I putting a lot of effort into the things that I actually enjoy doing? Or am I just getting pulled along for the ride in life? And I'm just going off of what everyone else is saying. It's easy to say, well, my husband wouldn't let me do that, so I don't think that I can go. No.
It's like your husband's a little bitch then.
But you want to...
I'm just joking. That's how I feel sometimes, though. It's
No.
like, let him go or let her go, right?
Yeah.
Or either vice versa.
Exactly. You have to figure out what is best for you because you're going to end up resenting the person if you're doing everything else everyone wants you to do, So I think that's a lesson of, when you're a magnet for love, we're made of love. You don't really have to attract it. That's the title of this episode. You're going to attract things when you just are who you are. And that is the actual highest vibration. They did studies. Are you laughing about what you just said? But love is a high vibration, but being authentic is the highest vibration. So I think that's the big thing. And you brought up a point earlier about, when we were in people pleaser mode, we didn't want to, I think you said disappoint people or, you want people to love you. But the thing is sometimes the people that want the most love end up repelling a lot of people. They don't know why they're being repelled, but they're not living in their truth. So they're kind of like, they're not attracting people to come to them, or they want the compliment. They're not going to get the compliment because they want it so bad. And it's a sense of lack. Like, I need this to give value to myself.
Yeah, because what every human wants is they want to be they want to be, no matter who's in front of them, they want you to show up as you, not a representative. And whenever you're people pleasing,
Right.
whenever you're trying to downplay things, people feel that. Even though the other person's feeling insecure in the moment, and you're like, oh, let me downplay. Genuinely, 99% of people are not going to like that, and it's going to really piss them off because we just want truth.
Yeah.
So even if they don't consciously know that you're being inauthentic, unconsciously, it's not going to feel right energetically, and it's just going to repel people, like you're saying.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I think it really comes down to having some quiet time and figuring out, what do I like to do in life? Like, what is something that's exciting to me? I know Romeo is a perfect example. He tells us what he wants. He's very clear on what he wants. He knows what he wants. He wants to go outside. He wants a TREAT, a WALK. We have to spell it all out.
He wants to see his friend.
Yeah, he has a friend down
every
the street.
day.
He loves to see.
He just stares at us like this until we go. He's like,
So these are things that he wants. We know what we want individually. It's easy if you live with someone or you spend a lot of time with a certain friend, you start to think that it's your it's your beliefs, when really you're just hanging out with the person and you're not having enough time by yourself to decide what you want.
yeah, I hear my alarm going off.
I
in
hear
there.
that too, and I don't like that sound. I always
So that's a pattern
snap
that I
at
need.
him. I'm
That's
like,
a pattern I
you
need to
change
shift.
that alarm.
So I start to shift.
I thought you changed
the
it
sound
already.
of the alarm. I did, but I have like 20 alarms in there,
Oh
so
my
I didn't
gosh.
shift the to sound.
Should we end on that note?
Yeah, I think that's the signal that it's time.
Yes. So let's think about it. What action steps do you have in place right now that make sure that you are living your life so that you are magnetic for the people that are in alignment to you? You're going to notice your whole life change the more you show up as you, the more that you speak your truth, and just allow things to flow to you and don't force it. You're made of love. You're meant for relationships. That's a quality of life, is the relationships that you
And
have.
what are you doing to look at, we'll call it your dark side, the blind spots, your hot buttons? Like, what work are you doing on a daily basis? Like, I love journaling. We join coaching programs ourselves. We're always doing work to look at the blind spots and dark side. And whenever we find something that we don't like about ourselves, because when you look at that dark side, you're not going to like what you find. We reframed it and we trained ourselves to be like, oh, this is exciting because it means I'm growing.
Exactly.
My
There's
self-worth
gold.
is rising. This is gold. So now let me, dive deep into this. So what are you doing on a daily, weekly, yearly basis to really look at that side of yourself too?
Yeah. Think of the pain as the biggest blessing for you, because in pain, you will take action in some way. Okay. Well, we will see you guys next episode. Bye. We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.